I moved to Cincinnati about 19 years ago. Made 2 attempts to escape, both unsuccessfully. I walked into the Mockbee because I was invited by a work pal to a international film festival. I entered through the McMicken level, and there was films were being shown, and felt cool and creative and reminiscent of what I'd left in the Pacific Northwest, and then proceeded to come down to the level that we're on now, which at the time had a stage over in that corner over there, which this was the sound booth for, in case you're wondering what this monstrosity is, which is a very cool monstrosity, no offense. And there was an ambient music show, as I recall, going on. There was art on the walls in the tunnels, and it was the historical feel of it, and with this very current art forms being done was very cool. Then going to the Central Parkway level, and then I thought I was underground. And along the way, I'd become various kinds of intoxicated, popping out onto Central after dark, and realizing I was on another street level was one of the most Alice in Wonderland kind of moments I'd had. And thought I was just immediately in love. Like, how could you not think that was just the coolest thing ever? I have been fascinated by this place for a very long time, and I was between ownership opportunities post-pandemic. It had come to my attention that the owners of the space, who still own the building but were operating the Mockbee as a venue, were probably over it. And so I began negotiations with them to see what purchasing that business would look like. Yeah, so what we're sitting in right now was built to be a brewery. And if you can imagine, circa 1880, which by the way is a date that I found out not too long ago, is a date when Cincinnati started keeping records. So if it's older than that, which I recently found the Mockbee probably is, probably not by very much, but a bit, and somebody out there definitely knows and could dig that up. So Bellevue Brewing Company came into existence. At the time, imagine like horse-drawn carts bringing, everything to do the mash bill, the yeast, the grains and all that, bringing it in there on the floor above us. And the initial boil happening there. Then if you see these pipes coming down from the ceiling, it seems pretty obvious that they did the secondary boil in this room. Those are lagering tunnels, right? Those in the tunnels downstairs. So you'd have had the barrels, coming of age, and the things that most people think are fireplaces because they're shaped that way were actually flumes to get the CO2 out of the room, so that you wouldn't die while working in them, because CO2, human lungs, not great. Then it would have been offloaded onto Central, which was then a canal, and floated into the city. So that's what this was conceived to be initially. It then went through all kinds of strange things. It got its name from the C.M. Mockbee Corporation, still in existence on Spring Grove. If you know where the Northside Yacht Club is, shout out Stu and John. One of my favorite places in the city. And you look immediately to its left, you'll see the C.M. Mockbee as it is now. So it's still in existence. They've been gracious enough to not give us a hard time about continuing to use that name. It was so light manufacturing, wire, fasteners, stuff like that. I think they now do quite a good job of industrial lighting, some other stuff like that. Then it went through a period where it was a restaurant, and somebody was making wine on this level, which was served in the restaurant downstairs. I don't know how long that lasted. Then there were ebbs and flows of various artists, everything from like genuine attempts at like art galleries type settings to, as it fell into more disrepair, sort of more like squatting for very little money, artists living in here, throwing kind of very organic events, which is the phase that I walked into it. Then some, 13, 14 years ago, they went a little off the rails and did a little too much here and got shut down. And the place sat closed like sealed for 5 years, which for a building like this with as much moisture that comes in because it's built into the hillside, devastating.
I guess I left my other jobs, was kind of just taking the summer off to just like readjust, and there was like a change in some stuff here, and someone told me to come and meet with Gabe, and turns out we actually knew each other from promoting days and everything else too, so I joined on like that day and just started doing events and helping out any way I can. So I think it's our ability to like give everyone a free space to do whatever they want, and you know, I feel like a lot of venues around the city are like, you know, how is that going to be the most profitable event? Like, you know, they're Xing out other like genres and people just because like they can bring a DJ in to do, you know, double the people, profit, everything else. But, you know, we're trying to give everyone in the city a chance to promote like what they're doing. I'd say their biggest challenge is our location right now. I think over the next 5-10 years, this will all be developed and everything else, and it won't become such a problem. But I mean, we're drawing people from Clifton, Xavier, downtown, Banks, everywhere else, and like we're our own little island out here. So everyone else has like the walking crowd around, you know, so they can pull from anyone, and we have to do, you know, triple the marketing just to have the same type of show. So I think it's like a perfect spot in the neighborhood to be able to, you know, bring all these cultures and people together and just put people in the same room that wouldn't necessarily be in the same room in the same place. So we can just, you know, get everyone on the same page and try to make Cincinnati like a great music venue and city. And so I think it's all just people coming together, and it's finally starting to show. I feel like a lot of people are curating events to be like, hey, I'm the best in this little corner, this is my pocket. And I think that as of recently, people are starting to work together for stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see together as like one installation, you know. I think it's the amount of freedom that, you know, is given to us like that work here, it's given to the bands that play here, given to any type of artist in every fashion. So we want to give people that space to just be like, I feel like I can do, you know, my thing here, and have it be like, you know, high production, high value, and just done the right way.
Rolling, rolling down the river. Yeah, it was really rad. It was like one of those venues I'd been to that I kind of made me rethink what a venue could be and could look like, because it's just a tunnel. And I thought that was so cool, and you know, when I was young and didn't know how sound worked, I was like, wow, it's so cavernous and it sounds so reverberant, and sometimes it's what you want, sometimes it's not, but I think for something like Spooky, it works pretty well to kind of add to the atmosphere of everything. So I liked it pretty well. It seemed pretty DIY and kind of hands-off. I remember the sound guy saying like, yeah, like we can smoke weed in here as long as it's not out in the open. And then out in the open, he's like, you guys want to hit this bowls? I'm like, oh, it's that kind of place. Sick. I love it here. I'm gonna like it. So I think that was my first time we ever played there, and ever since I've just always kind of loved the loose atmosphere there, because it's not just a concert venue, and it's not just a gallery space, and it's not just a space for, I think they've had like fashion shows there. I mean, they do it all. They've done movie screenings. I've seen plays there. So it's really versatile in that respect, and I like that about it. I like when something can be used to accommodate a lot of different types of art forms, especially when they all kind of overlap and you have an art space while there's a concert going on, or you know, a movie screening while there's people selling clothes or vending or whatever the event is. A lot of good opportunity for collaboration and kind of networking with people. I think 2017, it was like the third or fourth show Spooky Dreamland ever played. That's kind of like where we cut our teeth, so it felt fitting to do the release show there. And I think we figured out too that, because that was our last show with our guitarist at the time, and we figured out it had been 2 years to the day since his first show with us, which was also with the Mockbee. So I don't know, it just kind of feels like coming home every time we show back up there again. I remember we played there one time, and I think it was the same night that the sound guy was offering us weed, but we were just passing around all the other bands, and there was this like two-piece touring from somewhere out of town. We're like, hey, do you want it? And they're like, no. We're like, oh, okay, sorry. Like, didn't mean to freak you out. And they go and do their set, and they're like, all right, like, we want to thank you guys for being here. We want to thank our friends and family for supporting us. I want to thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh, we offered the Christians drugs. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, that's why they were afraid of it. Whoops. But never a dull moment there, I guess.
Well, the first time that I played there was I was playing a like single release show that I booked. I'm trying to remember the whole story. I just like I don't know. I like was gonna play a house show at this place called The Pit, which is different than the skate park that's next to it. It's the Clifton House venue, The Pit. I was gonna play there as a part of some sort of a release show with a few bands, and The Pit ended up getting shut down by the landlord of who owned the house, you know. So we ended up getting in touch with this person, Violet, who does a lot of booking for Mockbee, and now I think they're getting a little bit more into house venue booking in Clifton a little bit as well. But reached out to them, and they ended up giving us the upstairs room at the Mockbee to play for that show, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was a pretty low key. It was a little bit more of a low key show, which was kind of interesting. So that was, you know, I thought it was cool. It's a cool little space, you know. I don't like carrying gear up those stairs though. You know, I haven't been able to play the main stage, but the upstairs stage is kind of cool. Well, if people out there aren't really sure about, you know, if they think they want to get into music or, you know, be a part of the scene or see a show, then, you know, you should absolutely do it, because, you know, what else are you going to do in Ohio, in Cincinnati?
I mean, yeah, we're sitting in a 142-year-old room talking about, you know, rock and roll. I mean, you have a freaking, you know, the equipment that you're using right now is unimaginable to the people who created this. And then the other thing is just that continuity of creativity that's happened here. And I don't disclude the idea of building a brewery was probably considered a very creative idea. The idea of putting light manufacturing in here after that was a very creative idea. And then, of course, the decades of artists who have painted, welded, you know, you name it, they've done it, made videos, and, you know, going on and on. It's that just, it seems, not a superstitious person, but as Mitch Hedberg said, I'm a little stitious. It does feel like that aura, that energy builds on itself a bit, and that it's almost palpable. I think that gives it a lot of its unique